The night in Sector 7 was thick with smoke and silence. Neon lights flickered on broken walls as rain poured from the dark sky. Detective Cole stood beside a tall figure with green skin and sharp black eye Sarakai, the alien officer assigned to this joint mission. Cole checked his scanner, then whispered, "Room 12. Behind that metal gate, Sarah gave a silent nod and raised her plasma weapon. They had followed this lead for weeks, and now everything pointed to this building. But they still didn't know exactly what they would find inside. With a quiet signal, the team moved in. 3 human officers and 2 alien enforcers stormed. Through the gate, the door broke with a loud crash, and they rushed in with weapons drawn. The inside was dim, full of rusted crates and the smell of oil. But it wasn't weapons or illegal tech they found. It was cages, rows of them, stacked and locked, inside each cage. Small figures, curled in fear. Alien children, barely clothed, eyes wide with terror. Some had bruises, some cried softly, others stared blankly at the wall. Cole froze. This wasn't just smuggling. This was trafficking. Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking. These are kids. Cole rushed to one cage, where a tiny child with blue skin and bright yellow eyes huddled in the corner. He knelt down and whispered, "It's okay. We're here to help." The child didn't move, but then another cage rattled, and a small figure pushed the door open. It was unlocked. The child ran, stumbled, and collapsed right into Cole's arms. He caught her, barely 5 years old, thin as paper. She looked up at him, eyes full of fear, and said in a trembling voice, "Please, don't send us back." Her words hit Cole like a punch to the chest. Behind them, one of the officers shouted, "Sir, we found more in the back." Cole gently placed the girl in Sarah's arms and rushed toward the sound. A hidden room behind. A sliding wall held even more cages at the far end. A broken console blinked with red warnings. Cole stepped closer and saw a small, shattered data chip hanging from a chain. One of the older kids, maybe 9 or 10, pointed at it and said, "She said she'd come back." Mama promised. Cole picked up the chip and stared at it. It was old, damaged, but maybe it held something important. He gave it to Sarah, who carefully tucked it into her armor. "I'll get this decoded," she said, her voice cold now, angry. "No one does this to children," and walks away. They began freeing the cages, one by one. The kids were carried out to safety. A transport ship was called. Medics came running. And warmth returned to the building slowly. But not to Cole. He sat on a metal crate, silent, holding a crying child in a blanket. "What kind of monster sells children like cargo?" he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Sarah walked over and sat beside him. She looked at the kids now being checked by doctors and comforted by social workers. Then she said, "In some places, they're not even seen as people." Cole shook his head. "Well, not anymore." Just then, one of the medics approached, holding a shaking child in her arms. "She won't stop crying unless she's near you, sir," she said. The little girl who had collapsed into his arms earlier was clutching the edge of her blanket tightly. When she saw Cole, her face changed, just a little, and she reached out. Cole took her and wrapped her in his jacket. She buried her face into his chest. Sarah watched silently, her sharp eyes softening. "Looks like you've been claimed," she said quietly. Cole didn't answer. He just held the child a little tighter. Then his cum beeped. One of the officers spoke. "Sir, we checked the logs. There's a list of delivery points and names. Buyers too." Cole stood. "Send it all to me." Sarah's voice was low and steady. "This is bigger than we thought." Cole nodded, his jaw clenched. "And we're going to burn it all down." As the first drops of dawn began to light the sky over Sector 7, Cole stood among the children, some sleeping, some crying, all rescued. But this was only the beginning. The war for their freedom had just begun. The children were safe for now, but Cole couldn't sleep that night. He sat on the floor of the safe house, back against the cold wall. His jacket wrapped around the small alien girl who had clung to him since the raid. She was finally sleeping. Curled against his side, he didn't even know her name. Sarakai walked in quietly, holding a scanner and the broken data chip. "I stayed up all night working on this," she said softly. Cole looked up, eyes tired. "Any luck?" She nodded once, serious and sharp as always. "The chip contains names, places, and a transfer code linked to the Vorax Council shipping routes," she said. Sitting beside him, Cole frowned. "So they used official supply lines to move kids." "Exactly," she replied. "And there's something else." She tapped the scanner, and a hologram flickered to lifelines of alien text and flashing markers. "There's a name here," Sarah continued. "Someone called Varnax Cole." Narrowed his eyes. "Varnax. That's the same Varnax who sits on the Interstellar Trade Board." "Yes," she said, her voice dark, "and he's listed as a buyer." Silence filled the room. It wasn't just criminals involved. Someone powerful was behind this. Someone untouchable outside the safe house. The other children were resting in makeshift bedding. A few had eaten, some just stared at the wall. They didn't trust anyone yet, not fully. One little boy had scratched drawings onto the concrete stick figures. Stars, and a big circle labeled home. Cole watched him for a moment, then turned to Sarah. "We can't just report this and wait," he said. "They'll bury the evidence." Sarah agreed, but her face was tight with conflict. "My people. They wouldn't believe me," she whispered. "Varnax is a hero to them." "But the kids believe you," Cole said. "That's what matters now." Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the room. Sarah checked her command incoming message from HQ. Her skin changed color slightly, a sign of stress. "It's the department," she said. "They're ordering us to turn the kids over to Central Protection." Cole's face hardened. "No," he said. "We know what happens there, Sarah." Didn't argue, but her hand shook. Cole took the comm from her and switched it off. The little girl beside him stirred and sat up, blinking. Her voice was soft. "Are we going to another cage?" Cole bent down and looked her in the eyes. "No," he said gently. "Never again." They moved the kids to an old transport station hidden in the ruins of an abandoned city. It was cold, dusty, but safer now. Sarah made warm nutrient packs while Cole taught the older kids how to check the doors and sensors. The smallest ones stayed close to them both, silent shadows that followed every step. That night, one of the kids disappeared. Her name was Rainia Small. Quiet girl with silver skin and violet eyes. They searched every room, every corner, but she was gone. Panic set in. And some of the other kids began crying. Sarah grabbed her scanner and Cole ran to the rooftops to check the area. Then a strange signal came in an encrypted call. It wasn't from Rini. It was from someone using an official command channel. A deep voice said, "You have something that doesn't belong to you." Cole stiffened. "Who is this?" The voice replied, "Return them, or we erase everything starting with you." Then the call ended. Cole looked at Sarah, who was staring at the comm in shock. "That was no street thug," she said. That was someone inside. Cole felt something twist in his chest. They weren't just protecting the kids from criminals. They were fighting a system that wanted the children erased. Sarah touched the child beside her, who was shaking in fear. Cole stepped outside, stood under the ruined sky, and whispered, "We started something we can't walk away from. Back inside." One of the kids walked up to Sarah holding a small, blinking tag. "I found this where Rini slept," he said. Sarah scanned it, tanned. Her face changed. "It's a tracking beacon," she said, "and it's still active." Cole leaned in. "Can you trace it?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. And it's moving." They looked at each other. There was no time to think. Rinny was still alive, but for how long? They didn't know. The sky over the ruins was dark again, clouds hiding the stars. Cole and Sarah were already moving through the broken alleys, following the blinking signal from the tracker. It pulsed every few seconds on Sarah's scanner, each blink a small sign of hope. Rinny was still alive, and she was moving fast. They reached an old loading dock behind the collapsed train lines. The scanner showed the signal inside, but no guards, no lights, nothing. It was too quiet. Cole raised his pulse rifle. Sarah gripped her blade tightly. They stepped inside, and the metal door groaned behind them. It was dark and dusty, the air thick with the smell of chemicals and something worse. Fear, Sarah whispered. Movement to the left. They turned sharply, but it wasn't a threat. It was Rinny. Curled in the corner, eyes wide, tears on her cheeks, she looked up at them and whispered, I didn't mean to go. I just wanted to find my sister. Cole ran to her and picked her up. It's okay, he said. You're safe now. But the second he turned toward the exit, the light snapped on. Armed guards stepped out of the shadows. Weapons aimed. A voice echoed from above, calm and cold. Well done, Officer Cole, the voice said. You brought her right to us. Cole's eyes narrowed as he saw the speaker. A man in a sleek black uniform, human but with the emblem of the Interstellar Council on his shoulder. I know that symbol, Sarah said, voice low and angry. They're not law. They're the ones hiding all this. The man smiled. You could have just turned her in. Cole stepped forward. You're buying and selling children. They're not from Earth, the man replied. Not your problem. Cole gritted his teeth. It's everyone's problem. He fired first. The room exploded in sound and light. Sarah moved like a shadow, slashing one guard across the chest, grabbing Rinny and diving behind cover. Cole pushed forward, dropping to guards and ducking. Behind a crate, the enemy was well-trained, but not ready for a fight. They didn't expect anyone to risk their life for a child that wasn't theirs. Cole didn't care about odds. He only cared about Rinny and the dozens like her. As the last guard fell, the room went silent again. Rinny was shaking in Sarah's arms, her small voice trembling. He said they'd take me to someone who wanted a daughter. Cole knelt in front of her. They lied, he said. You're not for sale. They escaped into the night, back to the hideout. The kids cheered softly when they saw Rinny alive. But something had changed. The kids looked at Cole and Sarah not as strangers anymore, but as protectors. That night, one of the older boys, a red-scaled teen with bright golden eyes, walked up to Cole. We don't trust adults, he said, but if you say we're safe, I'll believe you. Cole nodded slowly. I promise. Later. As Sarah repaired her weapon, she said quietly, they know they have no one else. Cole looked at her. Then we'll be there someone, but the next morning, a new problem arrived. A transport ship landed near the ruins. It carried uniformed officers from Central Protection Services. They knocked at the hideout door with calm smiles and cold eyes. Official orders, the lead officer said, holding a datapad. We're here to transfer the children to government shelters. Sarah stepped forward. You're not taking them, the officer smiled. We have papers. Cole didn't even look at the documents. He looked at the kids behind him, trembling, holding each other. One of them whispered, don't let them take us. Please, Cole turned back and said, you'll have to go through me. The officer raised an eyebrow, then nodded to his men. Weapons were drawn, but they weren't the only ones armed. Cole and Sarah stood ready. The kids behind them watched. Wide-eyed, some of them began to stand too, shoulder to shoulder. They didn't know how to fight, but they knew who they trusted. A silent standoff stretched across the broken room. Then a strange thing happened. One of the protection officers lowered his weapon and walked away. Then another and another. Finally, the leader sighed. This isn't over. He turned and left his boots echoing in the dust as the ship lifted off. The children began to smile for the first time, not wide, but real. Rennie held Cole's hand. Sarah stood with her arms crossed, watching the skies. Cole whispered, "We need to go deeper." Sarah agreed. "They'll be back with more." Cole nodded. "Then we find the heart of this," he said. "We find Varnax." The night skies were quiet above the cargo planes of Hellion City. Cole and Sarah moved silently through the crowd at Dock 17. Dressed as low-class traders, their badges were gone, weapons hidden, identities erased for this mission. They had one. Goal: find the underground auction and stop it. A contact had given them the name of the place, the Crystal Market, he had whispered. Terrified. Not on any map, not in any record. But everyone in the underworld knew what happened there. Inside a rusted warehouse, below the main deck. A secret elevator led them down. Lights flickered red and blue as they entered the hidden level. What they saw made Cole's hands clench. It wasn't a market. It was a nightmare. Dozens of children from every corner of the galaxy stood inside glass cages. Each wore a collar with a glowing number. An auction board blinked above them, displaying offers in credits, metals, and rare gems. Buyers stood behind velvet lines, sipping drinks, laughing. Some even pointing at the kids like they were toys. Sarah's voice was cold. "This is not trade," Cole replied. "This is evil." They scanned the area, eyes darting, and then they saw Rennie's sister. She was in the far back cage, motionless, skin pale, eyes closed. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "It's her. I know it's her." Before they could move, a sharp alarm rang and the auction began. A screen above the stage lit up. Next lot, it flashed. High-Grey Zenari, female, age 9, healthy. A cage opened and a small girl was let out. She looked around, scared, shaking. The crowd grew louder, the numbers climbing. Cole held Sarah's arm. "Not yet. We need to wait." Sarah's hands trembled. "We wait, and she gets sold." Cole looked around, spotted the auctioneer's control panel, and said, "Then we make sure no one gets sold tonight." He moved through the shadows toward the console. Sarah slowly circled the cages, watching guards and buyers. Then she stopped. Frozen, a tall female alien had just arrived. Draped in silk robes and surrounded by servants, the little girl on stage gasped when she saw her and whispered, "Mama." Sarah turned to Cole. "That's her, the girl's real mother." Cole blinked, confused. "But why is she here?" "To buy her own daughter." Sarah nodded slowly. "Maybe not to buy. Maybe to rescue." The woman stepped forward, raising her hand. "Final bid." The auctioneer called. The robed woman spoke in a sharp voice. "I claim her by blood-right." Gasps filled the room. The auction paused. The girl cried out, reaching for her mother. But a guard grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "No blood-right in this market," he growled. The mother stepped closer, dropping her robe to reveal a sword strapped to her back. "Then let's settle it the old way," she said. Chaos exploded. Cole reached the control panel and slammed every emergency button he could find. Cage locks popped open. Alarms screamed. The lights turned red. Guards shouted. Buyers ran. And the children fled into the corners of the room, confused and terrified. Sarah leaped toward her sister's cage, slicing the lock open and catching her before she could fall. "I've got you," she whispered, holding her tightly. "The sword fighting?" Mother cut down the guards near her daughter, grabbed the girl, and ran toward Sarah. "Thank you," she said quickly. "You saved us both." Cole met them at the exit, breath heavy, gun smoking. "They'll chase us," he warned. "Will?" "Split up," the mother replied. "I have safe transport near Dock 12. Sarah gave her a signal, and the woman vanished into the smoke. Cole, Sarah, and the rescued kids ran through the back corridors, Smoke burned their eyes. Red lights blinked everywhere. Behind them, angry shouts echoed, guards chasing, guns firing. A child tripped. Cole picked him up. Another started crying. Sarah carried her too. They didn't stop, didn't speak. They just ran. Finally, they reached an abandoned service lift. Cole slammed the panel. And it started to rise, slow and shaking. A guard appeared at the bottom just as the door closed. Firing a shot that grazed Cole's arm, he didn't cry out, just pulled the kid closer. Sarah wrapped a cloth around his shoulder, her face unreadable. "You all right?" she asked. "I've had worse." Cole replied with a tired grin. The lift reached the top, and they ran out into the streets. Police sirens howled in the distance, maybe from the auction. Maybe for them. Either way, they couldn't stay that night. Back at the safe house, Sarah's sister lay sleeping beside the other children. Sarah sat beside her, eyes full of something deeper than rage, hope. Maybe even love. Cole leaned against the wall, arms folded. "They're going to come for us," he said. Sarah nodded. "Let them." He looked at the kids, then at her. "We need allies. We need to expose everything," Sarah whispered. Then, "We go to the heart of this. Varnax," Cole said. "Yes," she replied. "We find him, and we burn it all down." The safe house was silent. The children were sleeping, curled together under blankets. Breathing softly, Sarah sat beside her sister, holding her hand. Cole watched from the other side of the room. His arm still bandaged from the laser burn. No one spoke. There was too much to think about. Too much to plan, but time was running out. Early the next morning, Sarah received a message. Encrypted, hard to trace. It came from a source she hadn't heard from in years, a rebel contact. Deep inside the trade syndicates, the message was, "Simple Varnax, Harvest Moon." Tonight, Cole read it over her shoulder and frowned. "The Harvest Moon," he said. "What is that?" Sarah's face turned pale. "It's not a moon," she said quietly. "It's a ship, a transport. Barge the size of a city." Cole leaned forward, and what happens there? She swallowed hard. "Unsold children, unwanted ones, are sent to the Harvest Moon," she explained. "They disappear there." Cole stood up slowly, eyes burning. "Then we're going." They didn't waste time, with help from Sarah's contacts. They stole an old transport shuttle. It was dusty, broken, but still flew. Cole piloted it through the atmosphere lanes while Sarah calibrated the coordinates. The kids were left behind, safe with trusted friends in the mountains. When the Harvest Moon came into view, Cole held his breath. It was enormous, gray, rusted, and floating silently near the edge of the asteroid belt. Its lights blinked like a ghost. No flags, no signs, no guards on the outside. But they both knew what it was hiding inside. Sarah scanned the ship from afar. "Energy signatures show movement inside cryopods," she said. "Children," Cole replied. She nodded. "And guards," she added. "Too many for just the two of us." Cole leaned back in his chair, thinking. Then his eyes lit up. "We don't have to fight them all," he said. "Just cause enough noise so the galaxy sees it." Sarah looked at him, unsure. "Expose them," he explained. "Broadcast everything they're doing. Live." She stared at him for a second, then smiled. "That's insane," she said. "Yeah," Cole replied, "but it might work." They landed the shuttle on a maintenance port underneath the Harvest Moon. Slipping through old service tunnels, they reached the main control room. The place was cold, filled with blinking monitors and distant humming. They could hear the cryo units locking and unlocking somewhere above. On the screens, dozens of children were visible inside clear pods, asleep or sedated. Some were being rolled away on machines, sent into long-term stasis. Sarah's hands flew across the controls. She activated the comm lines, broke into the ship's internal cameras. Cole uploaded the footage directly into a public network. Live feed across multiple channels, untraceable, unstoppable. Then alarms. A guard spotted them on the monitor. The intercom crackled, and a voice shouted, "Unauthorized presence, Deck 3, initiate lockdown." Cole grabbed a pulse rifle from the wall. Sarah slid her knives from her sleeves. "Time to make some noise," she said. They fought their way through the corridor, heading for the cryo hold. Guards in black armor tried to stop them, but Cole moved like a storm. He dropped them with precision, one by one, while Sarah danced around blades and bullets. Inside the cryo hold, they found her. A child with dark purple skin and glowing white eyes. She wasn't in a pod. She was strapped to a metal table. Surrounded by machines and wires, Sarah gasped. "She's not just a child," she whispered. "She's a hybrid part human." Cole stepped forward and looked at her closely. She had the same face as the girl who first called him Papa. Back in Sector 7, his heart stopped. The girl opened her eyes and looked straight at him. "Are you here to save me?" she asked, her voice weak. He nodded slowly. "Yes." Sarah disconnected the wires and carried her off the table, but just as they turned to leave, the door slammed shut behind them. A massive figure stepped out of the shadows, armored head to toe. The voice boomed from the helmet. "You shouldn't have come here." Cole raised his weapon. "Too late now," he said. The girl clung to his neck, whispering, "They said I was special. They said I'd fix everything." Sarah looked at her, then back at the figure. "This wasn't just smuggling," she said. "This was science." Cole added, "Illegal, cruel, and hidden." The armored guard raised a plasma axe. Cole gritted his teeth. Behind him, the live feed still streamed across the galaxy. People were watching. The truth was out. Now they just had to survive. The air inside the cryohold turned cold and still. Cole kept his body between the child and the armored figure. Sarah circled slowly. Her eyes locked on the enemy's hands. The plasma axe began to glow, humming with deadly energy. "You're not walking out of here." The guard growled through his helmet. Cole didn't move. "Maybe not," he said. But the truth already did. The live stream was still going. Millions across the systems were watching. People were commenting, sharing, outraged. Someone had even posted, "That child. She has human DNA." Sarah's fingers twitched. She was waiting for an opening. The girl in Cole's arms trembled, whispering, "He hurts kids who cry too loud." That was all Cole needed to hear. He moved first. Charging with speed the guard didn't expect, the plasma axe came down but missed. Slicing into the floor, Sarah threw one of her knives, hitting the guard's shoulder. Sparks flew, and the armor cracked. The guard roared in pain and slammed Cole back into a control panel. The girl screamed, covering her face. Sarah leaped onto the guard's back, driving her second blade between the armor plates. But the guard spun and threw her off. She hit the wall hard, groaning. Cole rose again, blood dripping from his mouth. "You picked the wrong kids," he said. Then he fired his pulse rifle straight into the cracked armor. The shot hit deep, and the guard dropped to one knee, coughing. He looked up, helmet half broken, and for the first time, they saw his face. He was human. Cole froze. "You," he whispered, "you're one of us." The man spat blood. "Not anymore," he said. "I serve those who pay," with a last growl. The man fell, unconscious. Cole turned to the girl, still in his arms. She looked at him with wide eyes and asked, "Are there more like me?" Sarah touched her arm gently. "Maybe," she said, "but you're safe now." They carried the child through the halls, fighting wave after wave of guards. But something had changed. Doors were opening. Ahead of them, not locked, not guarded. Cole frowned. "Why are they letting us through?" Sarah pointed at a screen on the wall. It showed thousands of viewers still watching the live stream. One message stood out. The people demand justice across the galaxy. Protests were rising. people in the streets, chanting, holding signs. Others were sending ships to the harvest moon. It was working. The smuggling ring was being exposed in real time. Cole and Sarah reached the hangar just as explosions rocked the lower decks. Someone had triggered a failsafe. "They're going to blow the whole ship," Sarah shouted. They loaded the child into their small shuttle and took off. Behind them, the harvest moon began to collapse. Fires burst from its sides. Escape pods launched in panic. Cole gripped the controls. Flying fast through falling debris, the child sat between them, holding their hands. "I want to go where the sky is blue," she said softly. Cole smiled through the pain. "We'll take you there," he promised. They didn't stop until they reached the safe house again. The other children came running, cheering, crying. The little girl leaped into the arms of a boy who looked just like her. "My brother," she whispered. "They told me he was gone." Sarah looked at her sister. Sleeping peacefully again, Cole stood nearby, watching the sky. "I don't know if we won," he said. Sarah nodded. "But we changed something." That night, Cole couldn't sleep. He stepped outside, looking at the stars. A message pinged on his comdirect from the Interstellar Council. They wanted to meet. They had questions. He turned to Sarah, who had joined him on the balcony. "They want to talk," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "You trust them?" He shook his head. "No, but we'll go," Sarah said. "We'll speak for those who can't." Cole replied. Behind them, the children slept safely, for the first time in their lives. The chambers of the Interstellar Council were cold and bright. Cole stood in the center, dressed in simple clothes, no badge, no weapon. Beside him stood Sarah, her green skin glowing faintly under the artificial lights. In front of them sat 12 council members, alien and human, all watching with emotionless eyes. The room was silent until the lead counselor spoke. "We have reviewed your transmissions, the evidence, the live stream from the harvest moon." Cole didn't answer. He simply stared back. "We cannot ignore what you exposed," the counselor continued. "But your actions violated over 60 interplanetary laws." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady. "And how many laws were broken when they sold children like tools?" The room stirred, whispers among the members. One alien counselor raised her voice. "You disobeyed command, leaked classified information, attacked council-funded security." Cole didn't blink. "And I'd do it again," he said. The child with white eyes was watching from a glass window above. She sat with the other rescued children, guarded gently by volunteers. Some had drawn picture stars, homes, families, a new life. One counselor stood up slowly. "Your actions caused a wave of change," he said. "Governments are now reviewing the foster systems, trafficking laws, adoption rights." Another added, "And the people. The people are calling you heroes." Cole turned slightly, his voice lower now. "We're not heroes," he said. "We just did what no one else would." Sarah looked at him, then back at the council. "If you punish us, do it loud," she said, "so the galaxy hears how you treat the ones who protect the voiceless." There was a pause, a long, heavy silence. Then the lead counselor stood. "We will not punish you," he said. Gasps echoed through the gallery. He continued, "Instead, we're assigning you a new role, temporary guardians of the rescued." Cole blinked. "You're giving them to us?" "No," the counselor said. "We're giving them the choice." Moments later, the children were brought in. All eyes turned to them. The little girl with white eyes ran straight to Cole and hugged him tight. Her brother followed and hugged Sarah. Then, one by one, more children stepped forward, standing beside them. No words, just presence. A message stronger than law. After the hearing, Cole and Sarah returned to the mountains. They turned the old safe house into something new. A place for children of all kinds, alien or human, lost or broken. Didn't matter. Here they were safe. Over the next few months, ships arrived, rescue missions. volunteers, even teachers. A small community began to grow. The girl who called Cole Papa never left his side. She learned to speak human language fast, and her smile grew wider each day. One night, Sarah sat near a campfire with her sister and watched the stars. Cole walked over and handed her a warm drink. "They're asking if we want funding, uniforms, official titles," he said. Sarah took the cup and smiled. "We don't need titles," she said. "We need space to grow." Cole looked around at the lights in the valley, the laughter of children, the peace in the air. "I never thought I'd build something like this." He admitted. Sarah nudged him gently. "You didn't?" she said. "We did." Far above them, satellites floated in silence, but they weren't just watching anymore. They were protecting. Because the galaxy had changed, not from laws or wars, but because two people, one human, one alien, chose not to walk away in the end. It wasn't just about the kids. It was about hope, about showing that someone would fight, even when no one else would. And that was enough.